So in the same way I didn't know what to say when I made that 1 minute Instagram video involving this same topic, I don't know what I'm about to say now. But I do have an incubating idea which feels like it's going to involve what it means to be human. And inside of this smaller video, what I was expressing was how we tend to generate all these ideas and we associate them to brands inside of how we perceive the world around us. And so very often, welcome Monte 82. This is a very weird periscope, so if you're not looking for anything strange, I recommend you go to this one or that one. Us as human beings, we have a tendency to attach a bunch of these words and ideas and language, and we want to assign them to a specific thing. And these things we create sometimes from misunderstandings because we over intellectualize our language. We put too much merit on the fact that we can explain shit pretty well. I'll give you a really good example. So these we might call a set of keys. Just for the sake of communication, that's what this is called. That's the label. That's the brand that I assign to this. But in actuality, where does the key start and where does it end? If you really want to get specific into this, when you look at this, it's a shape. It's some geometrical city-looking piece of metal. And it would just be as accurate to say that this is some random piece of scrap metal than it is a key. It's only a key because we decided that anything that opens up our idea of what we've invented and called and branded a lock, we'll call that thing, whatever those things are, a key. Would it be just as accurate to say that these words in particular, because of the way they're sculpted, because of the way I can maneuver them, that they work as keys to some ideas unlocking in your mind that are already there? And I say they're already there because I usually stand by the idea that everything is already happening within you, rather than things are constantly being generated, although that's a very strong possibility. I say this because when you look at me, what you're seeing is the light reflecting off of me being absorbed by your corneas, being the images being turned right side up, and then your eyes are absorbing that, and then the brain is starting to configure some sort of image. It's starting to recollect what it perceives to be real and what it perceives to be just an hallucination. Brain can't tell the difference, but it tries. Now we see these things through a 3-color spectrum, red, blue, and green. That's we only have as human beings. We physically, biologically only have a 3-color spectrum. So we live inside a very limited sense of reality. Our sense of feeling very easily can become disturbed, which is why people call the phantom limb is when you cut off, let's say I accidentally cut off this, I become an amputee for a few weeks to months to years. I might still feel my hand as if it were completely and actually there. Reason being because our sensory body works in a different layer of how we perceive what's going on within us. Hello, Cassie 158827. As I mentioned to the I don't know if you joined or left. It's okay, doesn't matter. So we assign all these ideas to brands, and then we live by those brands because there's some biological, intellectual drive that propels us in a specific direction. But what does it mean to be human? I don't understand what that question means, because that question comes from a bunch of assumptions. It comes from the assumption that human is an actual thing instead of something that we contrived and made up in our minds to explain something to one another. We use the word human to define some sort of genome, some sort of a line of later species, a specific set and cluster of qualities biologically. And then later on, like our more modern culture, now we use that word to like define emotionally what it means to be human. We define these by our better characteristics usually. So, hey, you are, oh man, you're such a beautiful human being. And what we mean when I say human being is now I'm relating to some sort of connection me and you have, while at the same time I'm expressing that I admire the fact that you're a living being, the fact that you have qualities like empathy and love, and the act of connection itself that you're capable of. I'm acknowledging those things, your sense of sympathy, your sense of intuition. I'm acknowledging those things when I use that word now. So there's, words go through their own evolution. As we progress, words go through their own evolution, but these things are not what it means to be human. Now that I've gotten most of this out of the way, now that I've sort of maybe, hopefully, somewhat explained how words are these tricky devices that we create, and how easy it is to have them go through a metamorphosis and to overemphasize these words into thinking that they're actually reality rather than things that are changing based on the individual. Words are extremely relative. What a word means to me is very different than what a word means to you. When I think of the word cry, it's very different than the frequency of emotion you feel when you think of the word cry, right? They're very significant differences. Now that I've somewhat exposed that, now I want to try my best to expose and explain as close as possible by using the human language what it actually means to be human. And I don't know how well that's going to go. To be a human being, in my perception, means to exist. It's a label that I assign myself, but there are clusters of qualities that work within that. Some of these qualities, at least to me, when I take off all the other noise, is awareness. For some reason, even though there's this phone in front of me, and I'm deciding that I want to do something in particular to express something, because something within my awareness says that this is good. You know, I'm reminded of the quote, and God saw that the light was, and God made the light, and he saw that the light was good, and pursued that. I feel like I sense that there are certain instincts that are within this, whatever this mechanism is, that there are certain instincts here. And to be honest with you, I don't know where here starts and where here ends. I know that I've heard, and I can relate with the idea that some people only live in their thoughts, so they think that they're their thoughts, but they are completely disassociated to what they feel. There are other people who completely are deeply embedded into their feeling and are completely disassociated from their actions. So there are some people that are completely involved in just being the doer, and now they're that person. Now they live their lives through that way of being a human, through that way of being an experience, and then they completely cut off the deeper stuff, like aligning your energy, so to speak, right? So that one's a lot less common in my opinion. There are these very subtle things that they're very subtle phenomena that exist within one of the layers within us as humans that I perceive in my own experience. So in the same way where I was talking about the sensory body, I can also talk about the energetic body, right? So those things are interrelated as far as examples go. So what does it mean to be human? Again, I'll say I don't know, just as a reminder for myself, and I would also want to push the idea before ending this video that to be human means whatever the fuck you want it to mean. I think it takes a certain level of self-discovery to really step into what that means for you. I think many of you haven't tried enough things to really settle in on what it means to be yourselves. I think it's so easy to get caught up in ideas and stories. I think it's so easy to get caught up in the questions and how you believe something should work. It's so easy to get caught up in problems and intellectualizing, so easy to get caught up in strings of actions and going with that flow. It's so easy to drop into your sense of survival. We have so many layers to us as whatever the fuck being a human being is. We have so many, it's composed of layers. In my experience, in my perception, in my sense of awareness, and the best I can explain it, it's composed of layers. And learning how to walk on water, somehow expressing those layers, is how we understand what it means to be human. Hey Tony. Hey Tony. You came at a both amazing time and the worst time ever. I'm just now ending this video, and for those of you who are going to see this video on YouTube, know that when I'm speaking to these little side images, I'm speaking to live followers on Periscope. Thank you very much for listening. Ciao, guys.